Hi everyone, Amy here with some midweek updates for you for week 5. Mostly going to be focusing on our blog template discussion for this week, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I did get the summary grades posted and all the feedback published, so you should be able to read your feedback as well as see your grade in the Dropbox. And just a couple of comments about the way that I grade. I do summative comments there in the comment box that you should see once you go into that folder in the Dropbox. So do let me know if you can't see those summative comments. And then I also attach a filled out copy of the rubric which shows you how I determine the actual grade. And so if you have trouble seeing that attachment, please let me know as well. And then because I do summative comments in that kind of narrative form there in the comment box, if you have more specific questions about any line by line feedback or places that you could maybe constructively do things different in the future, I would absolutely be thrilled to talk about any of that with you all. You just have to come to me and ask for it. And I find that this is kind of a less is more approach, but it gets people more engaged with what feedback I actually do provide for them. So I'm always willing to provide more, I guess is the point, and I certainly would welcome all of you to come and talk to me further about the essays after I have provided your feedback and your grades are posted. But we are, as you know, well into our second unit now, focusing on the campaign analysis. And this week you've just been kind of working to set up your blogs. Next week your rough drafts will be due, but that way you'll already have your blogs set up when you go to post your final drafts after your revisions are complete. So let's get into the discussion and go ahead and get started. I guess implicit in what I just said is that you are actually going to have to post your blog, or excuse me, your campaign analysis to your blog. So if you've created a blog here for this week that is about exercise or diet or something that is vastly different from what you're going to be writing about in your campaign analysis, you may not want to post it on your blog that you've created for this week. That's okay. You would just need to create a new blog that you would then use maybe just for your campaign analysis. And that's fine because I'm going to have everyone paste a final version of the link to their campaign analysis on the blog when they upload the final draft to the Dropbox at the end of the unit. So I won't be going based off the link you have in this discussion anyway. I'll be going off of the actual link to the post that you've created for your campaign analysis when you're ready for me to grade the final draft version of that essay. So if you have any questions about that, or if what you need to do in terms of posting your campaign analysis, if any of that's confusing, please just let me know. But the idea this week was that you would get some practice with those required components of a header, title, background, labels or tags, and links. And so at least now you should know how to do all of those things. And I guess that's a nice segue into what I would say is my overall feedback for this week, which is that everyone has just done a really excellent job setting up their blogs thus far. I've been teaching this assignment for, I would say, almost 5 years now, maybe not continuously, but off and on for 5 years. And I would say this is the most successful section I've seen in terms of the majority of you being able to execute effectively those required components that I just mentioned. So way to go. Almost all of you had embedded links that worked, at least one that worked. There were only maybe 1 or 2 rare cases when there wasn't an embedded link, so that was excellent. You definitely are going to have those links in your campaign analysis, so it's excellent to see that you're already doing that effectively. And I also was glad to see that the majority of you actually embedded your link within the discussion post that you created as well, even though I hadn't required you to do that. And then also I was really pleased to see that about half of you did effectively execute the labels in Blogger, or the tags, so that people can search for your blog or hit on your posts. Usually I just have a handful of people that are able to pull that off, but I would say half to maybe even the majority of you were able to execute that correctly. So just on average, I would say that you're probably the most successful section that I've ever had in terms of trying to just set up the blogs on your own. So way to go with that. But with that, I do want to show you guys how to do the labels because that's such an important way for your audience to be able to access your posts and your overall blog. And so as we're starting to engage more deeply with that rhetorical situation of the writer's purpose being achieved with a particular audience, it is extremely crucial that the audience accesses your writing, of course. You're not just writing this for yourself, you're writing this to put it out there into the world so that you can have a real life text that you have created as you kind of engage with that rhetorical triangle. So if I go to Blogger, I'll give you a little personal information here. I do have my own personal blog. It's a kind of DIY craft parenting blog. So that's here, but I also have some sample blogs that I can show you. So when you're in your main overview page for your blog, whenever you go to create a new post, it will open up this window, as I'm sure you're familiar. This is where you're going to either type in your post as you are writing new posts from time to time, or when you go to post your campaign analysis, you can just copy it from your Microsoft Word document directly into the post here. You know, embedding links, which many of you, as I've said, were able to execute, so I'm not sure I need to go into that with too much detail. But the labels are over here on the right-hand side under Settings. It's the very first thing. These are just going to be individual keywords that someone you think might search if you wanted them to be able to find your blog, and you just separate them with commas. And so what that means is that your keywords don't just have to be one word, so it can be multiple words. So it could be, for example, Gulf of Mexico, BP, oil spill, beaches, cleanup, I don't know, whatever you would want to put here basically, but you can have up to 60 of them, I think, so it's quite a few. So again, you can see there's some of them are multiple words, some of them are one word, but as long as they're separated with a comma, it will include all of them as separate labels, I guess you could say. Alright, so once that's done, you know, just make sure that you have those other components of the header, the title, the background. I really didn't see many issues with that in terms of being able to do it. Some of you definitely did it more or less effectively, and I was really pleased to see a lot of constructive feedback in that regard when it came to your comments throughout the week. So I wanted to focus this week on highlighting a few of those comment and discussion threads overall that I think are particularly engaging, along with a few of the blogs that I think were just pulled off in a particularly effective way. And so this week, because the assignment was more of more asking you to execute different tasks as opposed to answer questions, I haven't pulled out my 5 minutes of fame in a separate document because I really want to pull up the blogs themselves and show them to you. I also thought this week was an interesting exercise in how posting early can help you get a lot more feedback, because you'll notice the people that posted very early have several replies, all of them, and then it almost like exponentially tapers off to the people who were posting last night got very little feedback. So if you're looking for more feedback, be sure to post earlier in the week. But then along with that, you know, the first one I wanted to highlight is Emily's right here. I'll go ahead and show you her blog itself because it did have all of those components executed effectively. You know, she's got a separate header that is for the overall blog, and when I say separate, I mean it's separate from the title of the individual post. So she's got her header, her title, she's got a background. Here are all her labels, and she does have an embedded link that works. So that's really all I was asking you guys to pull off. You'll notice that everything's very legible. The colors are pleasing, as I'll highlight in some of the comments. It's very easy to read and things like that. So just in terms of the aesthetic, you are going for clarity and consistency with your overall theme or the mood you're trying to convey in general. But the other reason I wanted to pull out Emily's thread here is because of just the incredible discussion that was going on, the amazing comments she received, and just the kind of back and forth that I want to highlight, because that's really what I'm looking for when I want you to engage with one another throughout these weekly discussions. So Kendall popped in and had some really good feedback about the connection between the title, the background, and the overall theme of the blog. And then part of what's keeping this conversation going so well is that Emily has come back and definitely engaged with every single one of the comments that she receives. And then Kara has a very insightful comment here. And then Emily, they have a very in-depth discussion, and then even Kara comes back and checks. So anytime people are checking back multiple times on these threads, a very good discussion is going on, I can always see. And then I just, again, thought some of these comments were particularly insightful. I know a lot of this is some discussion just about the topic itself, but Kara's highlighting some things about her keywords and how she could make her labels maybe a little bit more effective, and Emily's going along with that. And then they're talking too about how maybe they could improve their ethos by adding to their profile and things like that. And then even beyond this, Phoebe then comes in with a really good comment, a constructive comment about maybe some of the busyness of that background and the colors and how it might be a little overwhelming for the reader. And then Emily was very gracious in receiving that feedback, in that she said, I agree with you. I rethought my color choices or whatever based on what you had to say, and then even more comments going on throughout the discussion. So again, a great conversation here, a really effectively executed original post, and just a lot of good things happening, constructive criticism and things along those lines, excuse me. And then I also wanted to pull out Kara's was another one that similarly did everything effectively and then had a really good conversation to follow. So Kara's is here. You can see she's got a background, she's got a title, or excuse me, a header that includes a little pull quote here. That's always cute and effective to catch the reader's attention. Then she's got a separate title. She's got her labels here and her embedded link, which we can see does work. And then of course, anytime there's a shout out to a great writer like Kurt Vonnegut, I can't help but highlight that in my discussion as well. And then so just as Emily received really good comments, now she's going in and providing feedback to other writers, talking about the connection between the concept and the overall simplicity of the design. But then, like I believe Phoebe was able to do in the last or in Emily's post, she also provided some constructive suggestions for how to maybe improve the color choices. And I noticed there was a lot of really good discussion going on about things like color and font, and how to make the writing more readable and stuff like that. So that was very effective, and good to see you guys applying some of those strategies from the materials for this week and last week. And then Kara, again, just like Emily, was very gracious too, saying, oh yeah, I looked at my post, I see that you're right, I think I'm going to rethink my choices here. And then Jason too seems to be a Vonnegut fan, and then just asking some good questions here. This is a really good question for anybody who's interested in having a website for real in your life. How do you make your blog come up high in the search engine results? And so I could have a whole other day just talking about that, but basically it has to do with how many times you get hit on by other searchers, and also actually how much web text is embedded in your site. So Google can kind of crawl through your site and see all the text that's in there, and the more text you have, the more opportunities it has to hit on some of those keywords. So that's my very simple explanation. I could give more, but also just know that if you ever get an email from anyone trying to charge you money to make it more searchable, that's a scam, and you should not buy into that. So that's also my little PSA for the day. And then quickly here to wrap up, another good original post and then a couple good comments that I wanted to highlight were in Phoebe's thread, her own original thread. And so again, you can see here everything that she's doing, everything that she has in her blog is executed effectively in terms of the background, the header, the title, the label, and this first link did not work, I don't think, or it did work, it just went to the main Flickr page, but the second link here does go to the advertisement, so that was effective. And then a couple of really constructive comments, especially this one here was one of the best ones I saw, talking just about the connection between the color choices and the purpose, and then also some more suggestions for the links and how to make it more effective in general. So again, as always, those are just just a few of the really good examples I saw. Most of the comments this week already have been very strong, and as I said at the very beginning, you guys have probably been the most successful in executing this assignment overall of all the semesters I've had that I've tried this assignment. So I really appreciate your hard work and attention to detail. I know these instructions are very intricate and can be complex. So, but if you do have any questions, please feel free, as always, to send me an email, and I hope you guys have a great weekend this weekend. All right, thank you.